Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies coming at you with more 3D printing goodness. As you know, I do like to do at least one 3D printing video every single week on my channel, as I believe it's only going to get more and more prevalent in our hobby as the months and years roll on by. I certainly picked up 3D printing 6, 7, 8 years ago now, and I literally since then it has grown exponentially. Most people have printers. Back in the day when I used to tell someone I had a 3D printer, they were like, oh my god, I can't believe you have a 3D printer, it's crazy. Now it's like, how many printers do you have? Yeah, which one are you on? We all have them. It's a whole thing. So when Hobbies reached out to me again and asked me to do another video based on their printer, I was more than happy to oblige. They have been very kind to me. They sent me out their package of printer, cure station and wash station. Must be 7 or 8 months ago now, and I did a video on it back then. It is by far the most advanced 3D printer that I've ever gotten my hands on. It is a workhorse. It has become the literal only 3D printer that I use for my personal use. It's amazing. Now, the caveat to that is, it is definitely the most expensive 3D printer that I have my hands on at the moment. I still love things like the Whale 3 and all those kind of jazz, but the Hobbies printer is definitely the top of the line. They are the guys that do the most innovation. They don't just copy and paste, they literally do things their own way. I am a big fan of those. Now, what they have given me for this video is a little bit of help for you guys. So if you do check out their printers, you do decide they are something you are interested in, if you click the link below, there is a $200 coupon off and you get a free bottle of resin if you order from them. So that's a way of making the affordability of their printer a little bit better. And if you're in the market to buy a top of the line printer or upgrade from kind of the medium tier printer to something really, really good, then check that out. Now, what am I going to do in today's video based on that printer? And I've decided, because they've just been on my mind for the last couple of weeks and I wonder why, I thought I'd print out and paint up a dragon. I like most of the world, have been watching House of the Dragon the last few weeks, and as of today, the launch of this video, the last episode of the season has gone live, so I thought I'd put those two things together and paint up a dragon. Now, as of making this video, I haven't seen the last episode yet, so I hope the dragon that I paint is still alive at the end of today, and I haven't just had some horrible premonition, which could very well be the case, so let's see what happens. So I've decided to paint up Syrax, which is of course the Queen's dragon. It is a beautiful yellow dragon, and I'm going to print off a dragon from Loot Studios and paint it up to match that. And it should be a whole lot of fun. I'm trying to make it as kind of hyper realistic as possible, using as kind of few paints as possible. So it should be a fun little challenge. And by the end of it, I hope to have a really nice dragon. So let's dive in and see what we can get done. Okay, so these are the parts that I printed out from the Hobbies printer. And as you can see, they turned out perfectly. This is a print from Loot Studios. Comes in only 4 or 5 parts. It's really nice. And the detail that came off that printer is so perfect. It's just, I love it. I love it so much. Just that ease of mind and knowing how to set up a print and just leave it alone and know when you come back you're going to have something you can work with immediately. The detail is super crisp, as is Loot Studios known to do with their designs. And yeah, I think it's going to work perfectly for what I want to do today, which is of course the beautiful yellow dragon from House of the Dragon. I also printed out the larger version of the head and neck just to see what it would look like, to see if it would be possible to print out the entire thing. It's so many different prints. It would have taken so much time to do. And honestly, when that dragon would be fully print, I don't know where I would put the damn thing. So I'm going to stick with a smaller one for now. But with the neck and head of this, I can attach that to a base or a plinth and use it as a bust. So that's really nice. I used their new pap resin for this. They sent me out a couple of bottles to try out. No video or anything required for that. Just if you'd like to try it out, go for it. That's what I use for this. It's their miniature kind of resin, the one they designed for. They describe it for like action figures and stuff like that. So all the settings for that just worked beautifully. Very happy with that result. So it left me with this beautiful dragon, which I of course then sprayed black and then sprayed Grey Seer to give me a really nice base coat and a really nice starting point for getting some color on this miniature. So for this piece, I'm going to be using my airbrush quite a lot. I know I don't usually use my airbrush a lot in videos, but with the kind of technique that I wanted to achieve with this piece, I decided that it'd be a little bit more fun and it'll obviously a lot more faster and give me the kind of result that I wanted with an airbrush. So I'm going to grab Contrast Nasdrag Yellow and I'm going to put that through the airbrush and get a nice coat of yellow over this. It's kind of different painting a dragon from like House of the Dragons and a Warhammer dragon, if you know what I mean. It's quite a bizarre difference. Like, you know, a Warhammer dragon is very fantasy based. It's very easy to, you know, put bright, vibrant colors on it and make it look real kind of crazy and stand outish, and it just fits with that theme. The House of the Dragon dragons are kind of like what a dragon would really look like if they really existed. So I was trying to get that kind of hyper realism with the dragon's skin. You know, lots of nice shadowing. Yellow is kind of closer to brown than yellow, which it would be if it was an actual natural thing. I did own a bearded dragon for many, many years, and he was beautiful. And yeah, the kind of yellowy brown color was his staple. And obviously with the airbrush and the same Nasdrag yellow, I can give it one pass over the flat areas. And then when it comes to like membranes and stuff of the wings, I can do an additional coat just to darken that up a little bit. After that, I pulled out Dorn Yellow, and I just started to feed back in all the kind of in between the membranes. I don't know why they're called membranes, the like bone bits that hold out the wings. I don't know what they're called. But as you can see, you get a nice control with the airbrush. And we're just going to put a bright kind of pallid color back into the model. And it's all about doing that kind of layered color, getting those different steps built in. Like I said, if you just look at like the back of your hand, for instance, and you try and think of how many actual shades of color there are just on your hand, imagine that across a dragon scale. You're going to want loads of different kind of tonal variations. And all those things will make it look and seem more realistic. I could have gone for a crazy, bright and vibrant, glowing yellow dragon, but I don't think that would have looked as... well, it wouldn't have looked as the way I wanted it to. Obviously, a bright, vibrant dragon would still look really cool. Now, the last thing that I'm going to do with this piece before we go on is obviously I want to then blend those tones and those colors together. A lot of people don't know that you can use contrast and shades and stuff through airbrushes, but you can, and it works out great and it looks great. So when the Dorn Yellow is finished applied in all the different areas, the model is obviously sitting in a much kind of colder, more pallid tone than the dragon wanted to be, but I just wanted to get that kind of levels of paint. So like I said, I'm going to come in now with some Seraphim Sepia through the airbrush, and I'm going to give that another coat over it. Obviously you can go quite light on the flatter areas and a little bit kind of darker and deeper in like cracks and crevices. You can really create that nice shadow effect and stuff like that. This is about halfway through the process of getting this video done. And with this, I'm just going to play the quick advertisement that comes from the Hobbies website to give you guys an example of what their 3D printer is actually like. And if it's something that you can use in your everyday printing lives. So it'll take 2 minutes and then we'll be back to painting an awesome dragon. Okay, so with the shade fully dried on this beast of a dragon, I also got some texture paste on his base. I decided to go in with some Gargak Sewer and lightly do that down the kind of fins of his back. This comes from the reference pictures that I could find of Syrax on the internet. He does seem to have a dark streak going down his back and in and amongst kind of like the back of his head and the tips of his horns on the top of his head. And this is the kind of thing where I'm not sure how easy it would have been to get that done with a brush. But as you can see, as I feather it through an airbrush, I can get those nice dark shadows exactly where I want it to be. And that's once again the difference between like a high kind of fantasy like Warhammer stuff. Like I would have just painted the horns a different color. But the horns on the model in the dragon in the TV show, they're the same color as the rest of the dragon. It's a bright yellow dragon the whole way down. His horns are covered in scales and everything. It looks really cool. Volubus Pink was then very quickly grabbed and painted on the interior of its mouth. You're making sure to get the roof of his mouth, under his tongue, the tongue, cheek, all those kind of bits and pieces. It's my go-to color for the inside of monsters' mouths. Agros Dunes was a very quick coat on all of his teeth, all the nails and claws, even those going over the top of his wings. I did look it up earlier, but I can't remember whether Syrax is a female or male dragon. So if I'm calling him a him the whole time and it's a her, I apologize. Should probably have done that tiny bit of research before the start of this video, but what are you going to do? Some Ryza Rust was then dry brushed over that Dark Earth AK interactive texture paste. And then after that was dried, we grabbed a little bit of Ushabti Bone and lightly dry brushed over that earth again. It's just my go-to brown recipe for getting kind of nice tones in kind of ground texture. It's very quick. It's what I do for all my Old World Age of Sigmar bases. And then of course the nice, neat, tidy black rims on the base just to finish it off. This was quite an enjoyable process, and it is really nice to see a cool dragon on your desk. Something that I can definitely see being used in games in the future, many different games. And I'm curious, there are people out there who would like to see more random dragons painted up on the channel. What that would look like. Is there any specific House of the Dragon color schemes that you would like to see? Obviously, I've been a subscriber to Loot Studio since the beginning, and they've done so many dragons that I literally have folders bursting with files for dragons. And I've wanted to print them out for years, but there hasn't been much call to just yet. Going in with Ushabti Bone to tidy up the teeth, we use Screamer Pink to tidy up the tongue and gums. Ushabti Bone was also used on all the claws and nails. And with that, we get this beautiful dragon. I mean, I really like the tones. I really like the color. I feel like we got that thing where it looks like it could be a real creature as opposed to a miniature, if that makes any sense at all. If that does make sense, please let me know in the comments below. If you think I've gone off the deep end and I'm a total loon, let me know that as well. But I think we have proven that you can get a really nice looking dragon using some contrast and an airbrush. Hopefully the video drew light on the fact that you can use contrast and shades through an airbrush. All you gotta do is drop your PSI down to about 15 and then it goes through like a dream. Trick is not to hold the airbrush on any one point for too long or it will kind of bleed out, and that's not what you want. But yeah, the dragon was also a nightmare to photograph. It's too wide, it's too long, and the camera had to be zoomed out too far to get any real detail. It was kind of a pain in the backside. But what are you going to do? I think the 360 of me holding the dragon is more than enough to show you the details. But I did take some snapshots anyway. Different lighting to try and get the tone of the dragon, that rich, warm color that actually exists on it instead of the cold lights I had on at the start. And that gave me the finished dragon that I'm very, very pleased with. Okay guys, here is my finished Syrax model. All printed, assembled, painted up, and ready for the tabletop. It's always good fun painting a dragon. There's so many beautiful dragon schemes to do from House of the Dragons and Game of Thrones in general. So it was very hard to choose that. But since this was the first dragon you've seen in the opening scene of the whole show, and it has been a staple ever since, I really like it. Yellow's one of my favorite colors, so I decided to go for that. Obviously, I did a lot of airbrushing in this, trying to do some blending and try and make it all work together. And I think we pulled it off. I think Syrax is a pretty gnarly dragon, and I think I am quite happy with the result. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that, something a little bit different, just a random dragon for fun, whether it gets used for D&D, put it on a square base in case I wanted to use it for the old world, or any other reason for that. And dragons are always good to have lying around in your hobby collection. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you do the 3 normal things. Like the video, comment if you have anything to say, and make sure you subscribe to the channel so don't miss out on all future uploads. If you want to support me even further, check out Patreon link below, and make sure you check out the link down below to check out the Gears 3D printers. There's really nothing like them on the market. They're pretty incredible, so they get a big thumbs up from me. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this one, and hope you're looking forward to future 3D printing videos next week. Bye bye.